I played the stand-in canary for the CEO for 3 years. The night he went to the airport to pick up his one true love, I left a suicide note and took a red-eye flight out of his life. I thought we'd never cross paths again. But later, he bailed on a major product launch that everyone was watching, just because someone told him I'd come back from the dead. When I got caught, I had no clue what to say, so I mumbled something about my corpse, feeling unwell, and ran. I'm the tragic heroine in a melodrama, the stand-in for the CEO's one true love. Since I was a kid, I've had a voice in my head. It told me, you're the lead in a tragedy. One day, you'll work for a CEO named Luke. He's your destined match. Before the system could finish explaining, I blabbed it to my sister. I've had a leaky mouth since birth. Back then, there weren't any web novels about system transmigration. My sister, 10 years older and super alarmed, dragged me to a psych ward for schizophrenia. And, well, the treatment worked. It cured the system right out of me. Years later, I graduated college and got a job. My boss was a CEO, and his name coincidentally was Luke. I remembered what the system had said and fell into deep thought. I was one of Luke's many secretaries. He's the type who needs everything done for him: coffee, meals, schedule. I was the one fetching coffee, handling lunch, and carrying files. It sounded easy, but Luke was a hardcore capitalist. My monthly salary was so low that a full year's income could buy me 2 Rolls-Royces, one imaginary, one invisible. Every day, running up and down 20 floors, I went feral on my social media. I don't want to work anymore. I want to live on MI Mountain with the monkeys. Work is great. It really makes you feel like a lifer. Let's work. Work that's undefined, hopeless, broke, and still somehow brings joy. I want mountains. I want oceans. I want love. I want freedom. Just kidding. I gotta get up for that underpaid job again. Luke didn't check social media, or so I thought. Turns out I forgot to block him. One day, he liked over 10 of my rants and messaged me, "Do you really hate your job that much?" I broke into a cold sweat and scrambled onto Red Potato to beg Shandong people for help. No Shandong folks showed up, but I got plenty of jokers instead. Comments like, "It's not the job you hate, it's him. Ignore his message and you'll be found hanging at the office entrance tomorrow. Hope you've lined up your next gig." That night, I sent out resumes on job apps, nervously waiting for replies. The notification dinged, and there it was, Luke, ignoring me and job hunting here. All right, Luke owns multiple companies, so he's the one who stole my rich kid life. Fine, let's fight, I replied half-acidly. Really? Resumes are for job hunting? The next day, I acted like nothing happened and brought Luke his coffee. As I was heading out, he took a sip, hesitated, then stopped me. "Do you want to be with me?" I was stunned. "Be with?" He clarified. "In our world, we don't say girlfriend, we say be with. So, are you currently not with anyone?" "Luke, it's not that simple. Then do you want me to be with you?" "That's not how you use that word either." I didn't get it. "What kept woman too crass for you?" He put down the coffee and stood up. Light poured through the window, outlining his sharp, elegant features. "What I mean is, I'll give you $500,000 a month. You move in with me. Deal?" I touched my own face. "Wow, I'm worth that much?" I asked. "So what does be with entail?" Luke thought for a second. "Same duties as now, just a new office location. Keep posting on your socials, but don't block me." "What about health insurance and retirement?" "Luke, I'll cover those too." I agreed. I mean, the money was just too good. But something felt off. On a coffee break, I asked a coworker, "Do I look like someone else?" She stared for a bit and said I looked kind of like Luke's one true love. Then she gave up working and spilled the tea. Luke's beloved was studying engineering in Germany, no graduation in sight, ignores calls, leaves texts unread, and rants on her social media. Went abroad for grad school. Which country? The afterlife. Why can everyone else have babies but not me? Her vibes were identical to mine. Mystery solved. I was definitely the stand-in. I wanted to get my system back, but that miracle psychiatrist wiped it clean. Now my brain's a blank slate. I had no choice but to binge read a few stand-in novels. The stand-in is usually fragile and pitiful, abandoned the moment the real one returns. I figured I'd be smart about it and run before that happens. That afternoon, I moved into Luke's penthouse. Back to my desk the next day, ready to embrace obscene wealth. Luke was your classic alpha CEO, hated being bothered, lived alone with no housekeeper, barely remembered to eat, basically guaranteed to develop gastritis. I starved all day and came to a conclusion. Being the CEO's companion meant fending for yourself. I ordered groceries online and got to cooking. When Luke came home, dinner was ready, the lights were warm, the place cozy like a postcard. He smiled, clearly pleased, but he was happy too soon. He took a bite and froze with a hard-to-read expression. Has anyone ever told you your cooking's amazing? I shyly shook my head. No. Why? He said. Then why do you keep cooking? My fists clenched. But then I heard the sound of a bank transfer, and my fists unclenched. Who says no to money? I took Luke's money, hired a housekeeper and a chef, and spent my days goofing off at home, making short videos. Because I look like the CEO's true love. He gives me 300 Nike a month. Luke didn't have short video apps, and I blurred my actual salary. Even if the real girl came back, I could still feed myself with influencer income. Today's netizens aren't just nosy, they're helpful. I've read over 20 stand-in novels. Say the word and I'll map out your escape route. Can I apply to be your housekeeper? I'll pretend you look just like the last girl the CEO brought home. I liked every one of those comments. A few lazy days passed. One night, Luke came home and said, "You haven't posted on social media lately." Well, ever since I got paid, my worries vanished. My mental health soared. I couldn't post anything unhinged anymore. Luke stared at me. Post something. Fine. Guess this is part of the job too. I posted a cryptic update, visible only to Luke. Wednesday. Mistress Day. In traditional Chinese culture, 3 represents the origin of all things, endless and eternal. On this day, I walked into someone else's home and became the mistress, enjoying joy with a married man. Then I watched Luke's pale face go red, then blue. He growled through clenched teeth. "You are not the mistress," I said. "Then what am I?" Luke rubbed his temples and repeated, "You're the companion." And once we started calling it that, it got intense, reckless, wild. What a magnificent, uninhibited, passionate, companioning it was. After that, I dutifully stuck to my role, blindly following the plot while a few co-workers clearly drew the villainous straws and started acting unhinged. Ha! Look at her. Now she doesn't even need to work. Why couldn't it be me the boss chose? Why is Luke so strict about gender anyway? He still doesn't get how great men are. Luke came home while I was giggling over those snarky posts, also only visible to me laughing like a clucking hen. He smiled slightly and reached out to pat my head. I dodged. That's extra. He smoothly transferred money to me, then ruffled my carefully styled tragic heroine curls without mercy. Luke sat beside me and opened his laptop. I exited WeChat and opened my CPA prep materials. Ever since I became his companion, he started working from home a lot. He was busy making money while I studied in between my meltdowns. With cash, free time, and a housekeeper, it was the perfect setup for certification prep, especially with Luke's one-on-one tutoring. We were both investing in a bright future. I stayed Luke's companion for 2 years. Just when I began doubting his white moonlight would ever graduate, the algorithm served me a video. A girl standing at the airport in a soft yellow dress, tousled hair, glowing smile. The caption read, 3 years of studying in Germany made our 5-year plan feel like a 7-year dream. Ha ha ha! Easily the most meaningful 10 years of my life! My gut told me this was Luke's white moonlight. No wonder he couldn't wait for her. I wouldn't have either. I swiped the video away, but a sour feeling lingered. Felt like I was about to lose my 50,000 a month gig. My head started to hurt. I think my brain was trying to grow. Then I heard a mechanical voice I hadn't heard in years. The system had only ever said 2 things to me. One was the plot summary. The other, you need to fake your death before they come back, I asked. Do I have to die? Is there a plan B? The system ignored me, so I kept rambling. You're so cold. Can't you give me more story guidance? The system left me one final, totally unhelpful line. I'm sick of being under the thumb of psychiatrists. I decided it was time to leave. Before I left, I went to the office to file my resignation. Thanks to Luke, I spent 2 years as a canary, but also gained 2 years of secretary experience. Plenty to land a new job. I handed my resignation to HR. She was surprised. Does the CEO know? I said, he's about to. Former co-workers started whispering. Now that the real one's back, the fake has to go. Back on their gossip NPC scripts. I didn't care after all. I had 10 million in savings. I was thriving. HR said she couldn't issue a resignation letter yet. Fine. I'd be issuing a death certificate soon anyway. Luke never introduced me to his friends. Never took me to a single party. If his white moonlight was coming back, someone should have told me. But instead I found out through algorithmic recommendations. It stung. He never saw me as one of his own. Something as big as her return, and he kept me in the dark. I called him after getting home. You coming back tonight? I heard car horns and whined over the phone. He was clearly driving fast. His voice was flat. I'll be back late. Don't bother cooking for me. Of course, he'd gone to the airport. I had the chef make me one last good meal, popped open a bottle of red from Luke's 7-figure wine cabinet, stuffed myself, then had the housekeeper help me pack. She looked at me with concern and asked, "Companion, what's wrong?" And just like that, I cried. Totally fake. I shook my head and whispered, "I'm leaving. Don't tell Luke." I knew she'd tell him anyway, but I had to say it. It made my exit seem tragic. After packing, I left a suicide note for Luke. I have a terminal illness. The treatment is too painful. I've decided it's better to just die. I heard you're bringing her back. Wish you both happiness. I'm checking out early. We'll talk in the next life. I left that painful place with 3 suitcases and 10 million in savings. Never thought Luke would lose his mind looking for me later. Dragging my luggage through the streets, I wandered aimlessly, hoping the system would reappear. It did. Turn around, it said. I did. Why? Because you were walking toward a hospital. Clearly, it had PTSD from psychiatrists. The system said it would let me vanish from society for a few days. With its buff, no one could find me. I asked weakly, why only a few days? Because I was attacked by a doctor. Can't go attacking others now. Sob. I was reborn. Reborn to the moment the system first appeared. But the rebirth failed. The system still looked half dead. I booked the next flight and planned a few days abroad. To keep my sister from panicking, I messaged her. I'll be dead for a few days. Don't worry. Don't tell anyone. You can watch some ads to bring me back. Sister, what's going on with you? Sister, maybe you should see a psychiatrist. I declined. Everything traces back to my childhood schizophrenia. No need to worry. And then I died, watched a 30-second ad, and revived on an island. I held a coconut, lay on a beach chair, wind in my hair, staring at a man with an 8-pack. This vacation, perfect. The only downside, I couldn't post on social media. That was tough. I have serious sharing needs. With no one to talk to, I started chatting with seashells. During my vacation, I saw another therapist. He said it was fine to talk to seashells as long as they didn't talk back. After the white moonlight returned home post-graduation, the stand-in who just finished her 7-day death ritual was heading back too. She came back in grand style. I snuck in quietly, afraid of being recognized. I landed in Hangzhou, texted my sister right away to announce my resurrection. "Hey, I'm alive," she replied with 5 words. "You're in big trouble." Word was, Luke was searching the world for me dead or alive. Upon hearing that, I became half dead for real. In panic, people tend to seek outside help. I logged back into my short video app after a week. My last post was from the day I died. The CEO's white moonlight is back. I'm out. I snapped a random pic of the airport moon and captioned it, "I'm back. The CEO's hunting me down. Where should I run next?" Trouble on one end. Chaos from all directions. The comments from netizens chilled me to the bone. Ask him. He's got ideas. Dalmatian. JPG. This kind of situation gives people headaches. Just go to the pharmacy for painkillers. I got it run into the arms of his mortal enemy. I went silent. I'd met Luke's nemesis last name, Wang, a Mediterranean-haired CEO pushing 60. I sighed. No one was reliable. I'd have to hide from Luke on my own. The next day, I rebranded as a travel influencer and launched a new series, Diary of a Runaway Stand-In. Some questioned whether my stand-in diary was real, thought I was just chasing clout. But even more people were stunned. How'd you even find this niche? I wasn't bluffing. I started traveling across the country, city by city, taking my sweet time. But every time I passed one of Luke's branch offices, I'd flee like a guilty criminal. I spent a year as a travel blogger. New fans didn't know my stand-in backstory, so the old fans filled the comment section with chaotic trivia. Fun fact, Tai Tai used to be a CEO's runaway stand-in. Can't believe people bought that 1-year-old plotline. Fun fact, the CEO gave Tai Tai tens of millions. Fun fact, Titi started her channel to slap the white moonlight in the face. I didn't care about those comments. Everyone knows fun facts are mostly fake. Recently, Luke even made it to the trending topics. His company developed a robot that felt just like a real person, and you could customize the look. The first batch was co-branded with a blockbuster video game, flawlessly replicating the characters' appearances. Netizens were screaming with excitement. Everyone was suddenly interested in Luke. OMG! A 20-something genius CEO too wild for fiction. Fiction absolutely dares to go there. There's nothing fiction won't write except maybe what's below the CEO's neck. Luke read 2 chapters of a feel-good novel and said, "This ain't feel-good at all." Rumor has it he has a white moonlight. The moment the gossip turned romantic, I closed the comment section. I was the subject I wasn't interested. I went back to editing videos, running my account like a diligent little bee. Never thought I'd be exposed just days later. New platform rules. Any blogger with over 500k followers must use their real name. The system once said it would give me a moment to get caught by the CEO. No one expected the plot to skip ahead. I stared helplessly as the words, "real name verified," popped up next to my ID. Titi, Travel Edition. One click revealed 2 more words. Jennifer. I broke into a cold sweat, praying no one would notice. But the next day, comments started flooding in. "Where's Jennifer going tomorrow? Who's Jennifer? Why is everyone mentioning her?" Jennifer is Titi. Cute name, honestly. I liked one of those comments. So sweet, even complimented my name. I was jittery all day, too anxious to sleep. At 3 a.m., wide-eyed, I kept refreshing my page. Then I saw the red dot new follower. I had to click. The name was all too familiar. Luke. Blue check mark. I was done for. My brain buzzed. The system was spiraling too. At this point, do whatever. When the boat hits the bridge, it sinks. I didn't sleep a wink, stared at the ceiling till morning. At 10 a.m., Luke's product launch began and shot to the trending list again. With heavy eye bags, I joined the live stream. He presented with clear articulation, but a slightly rushed pace like a panicked king. The comments flew, "Is there a 2x speed option in live streams now? Did Luke borrow that mouth? Rushing to return it?" He paused, slowed down. The viewer count kept climbing. In his intro, people in the chat lost their minds like they'd found banana-shaped treasure. "I want a custom bot of my favorite character." As his last word landed, Luke handed the center stage to someone else and left. Looked like he really was in a hurry. I took a nap before catching a flight, no tears till I see him. As a carefree travel blogger, my IP changed daily, totally logical. When Luke was visiting the Jiangsu branch, I was already in Anhui. By the time he rushed to Hefei, I'd made it to Henan. He chased, I ran. We hit 18 provinces, practically boosting the entire tourism economy. Luke finally caught me while I was snacking on tangerines at a BB. He stood outside the courtyard, staring at me. My breath caught. I whispered to the system, "Hand me your busted script. I need a line." I'd never done a long-lost reunion scene before. No clue what to say. In my head, a hazy narrator whispered, "Luke never thought he'd see Jennifer here. Her arm linked with another man," not sparing him a glance. "Wait, what other man? Who's the second lead and why didn't I know?" I took a deep breath. The system was useless. After more than a year, I was facing Luke again. He looked worn down, pale, red-rimmed eyes. He used to slack off at work, never looked this haggard. Must have been all the traveling lately. I said, "You ever heard of the term tired, ugly?" He let out a weak laugh, forced, but still a laugh. I sighed. "You picked a bad time to come." I could see his body tense up, veins on the back of his hand popping. Peeling a tangerine, I added, "If you'd come a few months earlier, you could have had some southern navel oranges. They're out of season now. Total wasted trip." He said, "Not a waste. I came to find you." My heart skipped a beat. Honestly, I was starting to ship us. People get fidgety when nervous. I shoved another tangerine slice in my mouth and handed Luke an unpeeled one. What should I say? The system didn't teach me this part. I sat awkwardly on the lounge chair in the courtyard, peeling tangerines. Luke stood in the garden, silently doing the same. After his hands were stained yellow, I finally figured out what to say. "But I'm just a stand-in." "Luke, that's such a niche term. What does it mean?" I chewed and replied, "You had a white moonlight you couldn't have. I happen to look like her, so you treated me like her merch collectible edition." He said, "I never saw you as a stand-in. Everyone says trusting a man brings a lifetime of misfortune. I couldn't afford that. I needed a lie detector." After half a day's effort, I dragged one back from a tech expo. I placed Luke's hand on the machine. "Say it again." Luke cleared his throat and solemnly said, "I never saw you as a stand-in." Ding truth. I thought for a moment. Then why didn't you ever take me to any events? Was I that embarrassing? In all the novels, the CEO always takes the stand-in to galas. His friends smirk and say, "So he really found a knockoff of his white moonlight." Or they'd ask, "Where's your companion?" Everyone in the circle has one. Luke couldn't exactly say he's the only one without. He paused, then said, "Because you're socially anxious." I didn't think my mental state counted as social anxiety, but after some thought, I remembered my chaotic posts. I'm so socially anxious I wait until work's over to clock in. So introverted, I don't even speak at work, just play red light, green light. I felt relieved. Out of nowhere, I was suddenly relaxed. I took a deep breath. "Luke, remember this." He hummed and lowered his head to listen. "Remember what? Doesn't matter. Just remember." He didn't object. Okay. I wasn't a stand-in that made me kind of happy. My brain started to itch. Maybe the love center was growing. I removed Luke from my block list. When he asked me again to be his companion, I gave him a smirk, 30% aloof, 30% mocking, 40% casual. "You think I'm still that broke girl from back then?" "Luke, then what are you now?" "This year's broke girl." Just kidding. I'm now a million-follower influencer. I don't need his pocket change anymore. Even though, to be fair, his change is pretty massive. I enunciated every word clearly. I'm not that kind of girl. That was then. Now I'm a rich lady. I could only take the companion money when I just graduated. Money makes you picky. He lowered his head, his lashes hiding a hint of melancholy. Can I have a chance to pursue you? I said, try phrasing that differently. That line's too greasy. Luke went silent. Luke scratched his head. Luke moved into the room next door. After the product launch, he suddenly seemed very free. Every morning when I filmed video material, I'd see him on the other side of the fence, wearing meditation robes and watering flowers. I suspected he was peacocking. With the morning light shining down, his pose and expression were so stunning he looked like an exiled immortal living in the mountains. After he nearly drowned those poor flowers, I walked over, leaned casually on the fence, and quickly handed him a check for 20. 0. Just 20 because I'm stingy. I smirked devilishly. Wanna be my companion now? Luke held the check, stunned. Karma really is a boomerang. He nodded. So now, I had a companion too. Reversed roles, flipped script. The system, being an emotionally detached king, didn't know how to handle the romance arc. It just rehashed the broken script every day, then randomly told me, he's probably gonna misunderstand you. You two should argue again. I ignored it. Luke's good-looking and peels tangerines for me. Every now and then, he'd say something poetic like a sudden illness. The night you left, I felt like I was breaking. I chewed and replied, didn't you go pick up your white moonlight that night? Though, judging by the mess of a plot, she might not even exist. This tangerine was sour, it made my teeth ache. Luke rubbed his temples. That night, I was picking up my cousin. The word cousin shriveled my brain. I didn't think to ask. The system didn't think to tell. I punished myself with a milk tea. After Luke caught me, I finally dared to show my face on camera. Before, I wouldn't even reveal a strand of hair, terrified he'd recognize my split ends matched his runaway stand-in. Even if he's not an internet junkie, my first face reveal shocked the fans. Woke up and saw the infamous headless streamer finally show her face. Okay, yeah. I believe it, she really does look like the kind of girl a CEO would chase. The comment section was wild. Why do tall people like to wade across rivers and short people swim? Because short love you. Some spotted the plot hole. Sis, isn't your background the same as Luke's? Luke posted a mountain photo yesterday too. His caption? Giving myself a little break. His proper, bland tone made it feel like we had a 10-year generational gap online. My latest video got absolutely bombarded. So the stand-in storyline wasn't fake. Not being chosen is also a kind of choosing. Turns out I'm just one of those NPC netizens from a novel meltdown. Luke, marketing genius that he is, used the attention to give his new product another sales boost. We returned to Hangzhou together, where I was invited to a platform event. The event was basically walk a circle on stage, then do some meaningless influencer mingling. Before it started, I watched the influencer next to me who looked oddly familiar pull out a tripod and yell, "Hey fam!" Every beauty who visits Hangzhou live streams for their fans. Great city. So I pulled out my tripod too. When in Rome. I streamed for 30 minutes. Afterward, the system told me the moment had arrived I was about to meet the legendary white moonlight. I pulled up receipts. Why didn't you say earlier she was just a cousin? It replied coolly. If the male and female leads both used their words, how could it still be a tragic romance? I wanted to punch it, but it had no physical form. Luke's cousin showed up at the event, still in her signature soft yellow dress, fluffy hair, radiating high IQ energy mixed with unhinged vibes. She handed me a bouquet of lily of the valley, smiling brightly. I've been a fan of yours for years. Thinking about my early tragic CEO stand-in posts, I broke into a cold sweat. My toes curled with secondhand embarrassment. Luke's cousin was a chatterbox. She pulled me to the front row and rambled non-stop. Said Luke had maxed out IQ but got zero emotional intelligence. His way of liking someone was forcing them to be his companion. She mimicked the tone of others, mockingly. In our circle, we don't say girlfriend. Only companion. A bunch of eunuchs with no companions. I muttered. Keep it down. Is this something to be proud of? She laughed loudly. You're hilarious. I said, I'm being accurate, fair, and objective. The event ended late, and Luke showed up to take me back to the hotel. Good move. Gave him a mental point. At the hotel entrance, I shoved the door open with dramatic flair. Did it again. Third time. Realized it was a revolving door. I walked in like nothing happened. Luke pressed his lips together, holding back a laugh. I fell into deep thought, just playing a meme, totally under control. But I wasn't sure if Luke would get my abstract humor. I was afraid he'd really think I was dumb. So I decided to update the social media I'd ghosted for a year. Dramatically pushed the door open. Pushed it open. Pushed it open. After 99 times, realized it was a revolving door. Once you explain a meme, it stops being funny. Luke commented, It's okay. Being silly is cute too. Damn him. That night, I live-streamed while editing the vlog from the event. I meant to splice in some scenery, but the camera only captured crowds, and more crowds. While chatting with fans, I also clarified a few things about Luke. He was just my former boss. The stand-in story was fake. Just a script. Luke's not that kind of guy. But today's CP shipping fans only hear what they want. Wait, Luke's your ex? I panicked. No, I meant ex-boss. Someone pretended to mishear. No, she said husband. The more I explained, the worse it got. I was starting to understand how that cousin white moonlight rumor had taken off. Then came more bizarre, fun facts. Fun fact, Luke is Jennifer's ex. I figured that one was half true. In our circle, there's no such thing as a relationship, only a companion, so I guess he was my ex-companion. After a week in Hangzhou, I hit the road again. Back then, I changed IPs daily to dodge Luke, so I hadn't properly enjoyed most places. I made a new travel route. Luke made a new business trip route, checking on factories and branch offices. His route overlapped with mine. A lot. Why did he have so many companies and plants? I was going toe-to-toe with the rich. I remembered when I was Luke's secretary, he'd always take the higher-ranked male secretary on trips. Like business class tourism. My education was too high for rap and too low to travel with Luke, so I spent those days running between 20 floors, crying in silence. But now, I was flying everywhere too. Luke and I saw more of each other, less of the rest. Things were good. Under the watch of our trash system, we made it official. The system curled up, sobbing in my brain. How did you two end up together? According to my plan, the male lead should have coughed up at least 3 liters of blood to win you back. I said, 3 liters of blood would kill him. System. Sure, healthy love is nice, but tragic passion is chef's kiss. I flipped it off in my mind. Luke's new company went public. My follow account neared 10 million. Our careers were thriving, our future bright. At an investor gala Luke backed, I showed up on his arm in full glam. Some spoiled rich kid eyed me, confused. Who's she? Luke answered plainly. My companion. A mega influencer looked at Luke with nosy curiosity. So Luke, what's your relationship with her? I replied just as simply. My companion. So you two are conjugate companions. Behind us, someone muttered. Is the word partner cursed or something? I smiled faintly. In our circle, there are no partners, only companions. The rich kid mumbled. So I'm just a guy with no companion. I clearly saw Luke's body tense. The bold words of his youth would haunt him for years. After we went public, there were blessings and doubts. But whatever they were, just NPCs in my world. One ordinary night, the system disappeared. Its script was tattered, patched up, and falling apart. In the end, it left a final line. And so, Jennifer and Luke lived happily ever after.